Workplace well-being continues to attract attention in many countries, with companies investing in a range of programs to increase the happiness of their employees. Today, I will talk to Griet Deca from Belgium, who works as a workplace happiness coach. She's the co-founder and chief happiness officer at Tryangle, a company that offers training, coaching, and consultancy to help companies improve employee happiness and well-being. She's also the author of the book From Prosperity to Happiness at Work. So, hi, Griet. How are you? Welcome
Hello.
Welcome to the program.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Happy to be here.
Because you speak Dutch, and I have written a few sentences in Dutch, and I will try to say it in Dutch now. Then you can tell me if I can pronounce them correctly, okay?
All right, let's give it a try.
Ik ben Mahmud, ik ben een journalist. Nu ga ik met Griet praten over werkgeluk. Is it?
You are not telling me that this is your first time in Dutch, is it?
It is my first time speaking Dutch.
Congratulations, Mahmoud. If I would meet you here in the street in the Flemish part of Belgium, I wouldn't believe it, because you did a very good job. Congratulations.
Oh, really? Yeah. Thanks. Because I always love languages, and I always try to speak different languages to see how I sound, I really like this.
Yeah.
Anyway.
Very well done.
Yep. Thank you. So we have a lot to discuss today. And
yes.
I want to start with something that just happened recently in your country, the new 4-day work week regulation that took effect in Belgium this week.
Yeah.
So how do you think this will affect the work culture and work-life balance in your country? What is your opinion?
I have to be really honest, Mahmoud. I'm a very optimistic person, but with this deal, because they really call it like the work deal, it changed legislation for the good. That's the intention. But for me, it's kind of like a missed opportunity, because we are going from 5 days to 4 days. But that doesn't mean that we're cutting down on work hours. No, we're just squeezing our work week, which we did before, in 5 days' time. We're just squeezing it in 4 days, which means that we're going to stretch our work days. I'm not telling you anything new. I think that when I say, if we look at scientific research, we know that pushing in more than 11 hours a day, for instance, it's not the best idea for our physical and mental health. And that's exactly the situation that we're creating here in Belgium by saying, hey guys, you can perform the same job in 4 days' time, but it doesn't mean that you'll be working less. So for me, the perfect scenario would have been 4-day work week means putting in less hours, but unfortunately, we didn't go that way.
And so you are not that optimistic about the new regulation, because
no.
Yeah, I was also reading it, and I was really surprised when I read that actually the work hour, it's not going to be reduced. So you will have longer hours if you choose the 4-day work week, which means you have to work more if you choose to work 4 days a week. So actually, I don't even think it's a good idea, because if you work more hours, I don't think it's gonna be produce any good result in terms of your health and workplace well-being as well. Yep.
Exactly, because maybe you will have 1 day off extra each week, but I think you will need to put in more rest hours to recover from long days at work. So for me, it's really a missed chance, you could say.
What was the workplace happiness situation in Belgium before you started working professionally in this area, and how has it changed since then?
Well, I think that if we look at workplace happiness, question mark a couple of years ago, because here in Belgium, it was really, nobody talked about it. It was no issue. It was not a priority, but we did have something else, because here in Belgium, we're quite unique, you could say. Maybe not being the only country who has a law on well-being at work. And that has always been one of the major topics here. So if you want to start a company, if you are organizing work for people, the law says that you need to take care of their well-being, which is a good starting point, of course. But what we often see is, well, the law has changed over the years. And it is about well-being, but the word well-being is not mentioned, not even once in the law. So that's a bit of a strange situation too, you could say. But it did help us to, well, put awareness on the fact that physical and mental health should be a priority for people in the workplace. So we've not been talking about workplace happiness until recently, until honestly, well, 2018, you could say, more or less. That was the first year in which we launched the International Week of Happiness at Work. And here in Belgium, we joined that movement. And back then, in 2018, I had a lot of work to explain to companies, organizations, people, why is it important to put happiness into the workplace? And there were some initiatives already going on back then, but it was really, well, small and minor, you could say. But little by little, it started growing. And today we see a lot of companies putting the happiness and the well-being of their personnel at the center of what they do as a company. Earlier today, for instance, I went to talk to a company who has become a great place to work year after year on a Belgian level, but also on a European level. And what they say is, well, they work in IT, but they go like, yeah, we are IT people, but before all that, we are people. So the most important focus within that company, it's love. When we love each other, when we can make each other happy, then we can be a performant organization. And the performance is huge because the company is growing very rapidly. So for them, it's just one example, but for them, caring about people, that's all it is you need to do if you want to do business. Because if the people are feeling happy, they will perform in the best way they can. And if performance goes up, it's way easier to care about the people. So it's a positivity loop.
So you wrote an article in 2019 and I was reading it, and you said all companies in Belgium are actively working on workplace well-being policy in theory. But this theory often results in only paperwork, and you emphasized policy implementation instead of companies focusing only on surveys, checklists, meaningless reports, or meetings, So how has the situation evolved since then? Have you observed any progress?
Yeah, well, it's all because of the law that, well, we need to do something. So just check, putting it on paper is doing something. And that's apparently what we need to be doing according to the law. That's still the case for a lot of companies today. And maybe I'm going to say something bizarre, but thanks to COVID-19, we've raised the bar, you could say, because there are still some companies left who go at it from a paper approach, let's say, but more and more companies have understood that, well, we really need to take care of our people, because it's not a matter anymore of pretending like everything's okay and just be a bit harder, pushing an extra hour and we'll get there. Yeah, you don't have to be so fragile today. Just pick up your game and go for it. That kind of talk, it doesn't work anymore. People have suffered because of COVID-19, and people have become aware of the fact that putting your people first, that's exactly what we should be doing if we want to get a good result, not only in good days, but also when things turn out more difficult, for instance. So I still meet companies who look at the survey thing and the checklist thing, you could say, but I'm very happy to say that I meet more and more companies who go like, yeah, so we had a survey, now we know a lot of things. What are we going to do now to help our people, to really help them? And that's a very good evolution.
I think your company, Tryangle, is playing a vital role in this regard because you provide coaching, training, and consultancy in the area of workplace well-being, and you work with companies, you work with employees, you work with also employers. So tell us about your company, Tryangle. So how did it start? Tell us the backstory.
Yeah, so we started in a very crazy place, actually. We started back then in 2015, not as Tryangle, but under another name, being part of a gym. And the gym was for people wanting to work out, and they were taking care of their physical health, and we were like, yeah, but we want to take care of the mental health and well-being, not only people but also companies. So let's create this joint venture, which we did. But it became so big. We were not only a gym and giving training in companies, but we were also throwing parties in the big hall that we had, and serving people drinks and food, because in summertime we had this huge terrace where more than 160 people could come and have fun. And at the end of the day, my business buddy Kim, who is still my business partner today, Kim and I, we were like, oh my God, was this what we had planned for? No, it was not. So after 2 years, we went to our partners there and we said, guys, terribly sorry, but we're gonna take out the business inside idea that we had in mind, and we're gonna start over again. So we had a little team working on business training back then, and they followed us. So we were just like the 5 of us, to be honest, back then. And I still remember it was 2017, if I'm not mistaken, early summer. And we were in a little bar in Antwerp, beautiful city here in Belgium, and really go like, okay, so we're going to start over again. What's going to be the name? And we've been brainstorming about it. And at a certain moment, somebody said, well, maybe we should give it another try. Try. Can we do anything with try? And I was like, yeah, try a different angle. And before we knew it, we were Tryangle. So,
Okay.
Tryangle was the name. And then we decided on, okay, what do we want to put into our company? And for us, it was really important, to be scientifically based. We don't want to do stuff that we might think or we might feel, which is important. I'm not saying that it's not, but if we want to convince, professional parties that we're going to do business with them, it's not about what we experience and what we think, but what do we know thanks to science. So we took a deep dive into scientific research. We were all already stress and burnout coach back then. But the negative side from stress and burnout coaches is that people reach out when things are already into the red zone. People are dropping out, are about to drop out. And at a certain point, it was really at the beginning of Tryangle, we were like, yeah, why are we waiting until people become ill? And that's the point where we turned to the Netherlands, where the neighbors who are really a couple of kilometers ahead of us, if we talk about health and well-being. And so we took a class on how to become a happiness at work expert. And our Dutch colleagues told us, yeah, but why don't you go to Denmark? You really need to go to Denmark to become Chief Happiness Officer. And so we did. And starting from that point, we had a long way to convince and explain companies that it's important to work on health, mental health, well-being, happiness at work, not when things turn out difficult or when people start to suffer, but way before it, because it's like putting a house on fire. If it's just a little flame, I can do something, I'll survive. But if it's going through the roof, yeah, of course, I need to call the professionals. And it's going to take way more time, way more effort, and way more money to get things back to normal. So, yeah, that's the way it started, in a little bar in Antwerp.
Interesting story. So how many people work now in Tryangle?
Well, today, so we started with 5 people, as I mentioned, and today we are a team of about 20 people, coaches, trainers, consultants, who all have a different background, but we have 2 things in common. We all have professional experience being working in workplaces. So we don't have, for instance, a psychologist who just has an own practice, let's say. No, it's always business related. And the second thing, you need to be a bit crazy if you want to work for Tryangle, because we really try a different angle in everything we do. So if it can't be fun, then it can't be done, what Tryangle is concerned. So we laugh a lot, we make a lot of fun, but we are in serious business. So we do serious things with a big smile on the face.
Yeah, and I was also checking the team members on your website, and I saw 2 dogs. What are they doing there at Tryangle? Please tell me.
Yeah, we have a couple of dogs. We have a couple of cats, by the way.
Okay.
Our biggest masters in taking care of ourselves, in communication, in leadership. It's all topics that you can find in our triangle model. Where do we learn all that stuff? Well, we can go to training, we can go to school maybe, but just look at the communication with animals. Now, personally, I do a lot of dog sports, agility, for instance, where the dog needs to be running a certain track, but if the dog is not running at all if I'm not leading the way. But if I'm into the command and control leading kind of way, my dog is going to say, oops, not going anywhere. It's all about trust and motivation and knowing what the other one is worth, you could say. And if we hit some difficulties on the track, I'm not going to say, oh, we're not able to do this. No, we're going to figure out together, how can this be done? So working with animals and introducing them also in the workplace. We do some coaching with dogs, for instance. And if you see people, they react to the dog and the dog reacts to the people, what you can learn from that, it's incredible. And the most incredible part, we don't have to talk about it because the dog is going to show some behavior which tells a lot to the person involved in the coaching. And it's not about Griet, the coach, saying, hey, look at this. No, it's about, oh my God, now suddenly I understand what's going on. It's really amazing. I can only recommend it.